You know what, Jamie? Let's pop off right now. We got to get started.
We got to go.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's get the people in the chat. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle Morning After Recap Show, brought to you by irishsportsdaily.com. I'm your host, Greg Flammang. It is the morning after Notre Dame's 58-7 victory over the Pittsburgh Panthers, the Fighting Pat Narduzzi's. Whoops, that happened. Pat Narduzzi kind of made a spectacle of himself in the post game. Although I think the quote that's going around about we needed better players, we didn't bring in good enough players, I think it's probably a little bit out of context, and but people like to have fun with Pat Narduzzi, and he's very salty. So that's how it goes sometimes when you give the post game quotes after a 58-7 loss. You hate to see that, but it's a great victory for Notre Dame, and we're going to talk about that. If you've never heard this show, if you're just tuning in later, if you're hearing us on the podcast, I do this every morning. And morning after the game, talk over stats, talk over what we saw. Everyone kind of talks through it in the chat. Very interactive with the audience, this show. And a lot of the things, I actually, thank goodness, it was finally a 3:30 kick Eastern, 12:30 Pacific time kick. So I got the chance. I before I went to bed last night, I watched a lot of the game back. So I have a lot more. My thoughts are a lot more developed than they would be for a night game. That's the bad thing about night games. After we record the post game show, and then I have to edit that and get it out. I don't really have time to watch the game, so it's a lot better when I can actually watch the game, and that's going to be the case next week as well, because that's a noon kickoff Eastern time. So thank you everyone for being here. If it's your first time, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the show, and please hit the notification bell so you know whenever it is we are going live. Links to this podcast are in the description below. And we're also, the show last night, the instant reaction recap, that's up as well. You're going to want to check that out. And another thing you're going to want to check out is ESQ Clothing, which has created the world's first bamboo dress shirt. It's crafted from high-quality bamboo fabric. It's the softest and most comfortable shirt you'll ever put on. Not only more sustainable than cotton, but also feels cooler, has stretch, is odor and wrinkle resistant, even machine washable. You've seen ESQ's one-piece collar bamboo dress shirt on all of Notre Dame's top players and coaches. It's the perfect shirt for today's business meeting or heading for a night out. Use ISD 15 to get 15% off all online items. That's ISD 15 for 15% off. Josh Miller is ready. Thank you for being here, Josh. Josh was at the game in zone tunnel. Tell us about it. Put some stuff in the chat. We can talk about that. Rajon is segueing his morning into Hit and Hustle. We really appreciate your always being here, Rajon. Parker's scheme looked much better yesterday, even during the first half struggles. Tyler Hack. I agree. I thought he called a good game. I thought he had a good plan to attack Narduzzi's defense, which is obviously very, very very aggressive. They're playing a lot of man coverage, and Narduzzi attacked that. He called a lot of man beaters. He put the defense in bad situations. There were times when Notre Dame didn't fully execute on what was available to them in the first half. There were a lot of opportunities for deep plays that Notre Dame didn't take. Sam Hartman decided to go elsewhere with the ball. And I'm going to break that down, kind of over the next couple of days, because I think there was a lot there. And I was actually very encouraged by the way that Jared Parker called the game and how he tried to attack Pitt. I thought he did a very nice job with that. I'm going to talk about how Notre Dame can kind of take better advantage of their outside wide receivers, because right now everything's coming on the inside in the slot position, which is obviously fine. Sam Hartman's obviously very comfortable throwing inside over the middle of the field, but they need to get more out of their outside wide receivers, because I put the stat up on Twitter. Basically Jaden Greathouse in the last 3 games has played exclusively on the outside, and he hasn't been effective. They've thrown him 2 passes. He hasn't caught either one. One of those, he drew a penalty. So that's good. Oh no, I'm sorry. He didn't get a pass attempt on that one. There was another one where it was kind of a throwaway by Hartman. So they've thrown him 2 passes, hasn't caught either one. Hasn't caught a pass in 3 games, and it coincides with him moving to the outside, right? Tobias Merriweather, the two passes he caught yesterday, both came out of the slot and into one off an RPO and one off of obviously the post route. That was a very nice scheme by Parker as well. So they need to figure that out. They need to figure out how to get the outside wide receivers going. And I'm going to be talking about that over the next couple of days. CFB Hertz says, Greg, I think it's time to move on. It's time to replace Hamilton with Watts for the intro image. There's actually a practical reason why we don't do that. Why we have a former player in the intro and not a current player. There's a practical reason for that. So we will it has to do with promotion of the channel and that sort of thing. So that's why it's a former player and not a current player. All right, let's see here. What else is going on here? Sat in the end zone. Karen, I don't know how to say your last name, so I'm just going to say Karen C. Sat in the end zone. It was a perfect fall day. It looked great. Honestly, it looked nice. It didn't look too cold or anything. It was good stuff. So good job by you being there. Michael McGowan, a great win, but was I the only one screaming at the TV when we let the clock run down? Then didn't have time to score a touchdown at the end of the first half. No, you were not the only one. Jamie thought it was fine last night on the post game. He thought it was fine clock management. I didn't like it in real time. Me and Christian McCollum were kind of upset in the text chain. I just seemed like they were. It was too. You didn't need to let it run all the way down like that. Specifically for that reason. Like if you run it down to 30 seconds or something, like it's not like Pitt's going to have a ton of time to get the ball and go score at that point. Like you could have left yourself enough time, 30 seconds left for things like a penalty and getting a first down, or they'll take a penalty. When you run it all the way down to 12 seconds, you're really basically asking Pitt to grab you and tackle you and make it difficult for you to do anything, because it's like, well, the clock's going to just run down. They don't have enough time, even if it's an automatic first down, like what happened and what actually took place. They interfered with Jaden Greathouse. Notre Dame got an automatic first down. There's 3 seconds left. Of course, they're just going to kick the field goal. So I didn't like that. I didn't like the timeout at 1 minute left. I thought if you're going to run it down at any time, run it down then. And then you can ensure that you're going to save a timeout, and then you'll have, 30 seconds left. Because they called the timeout, I want to say, with 1 minute left and 30 seconds on the play clock. And then they call a timeout. Like, why do you do that? And then you run one more play and then run it all the way down. Like it just didn't make a ton of sense. So I'm sure Marcus will go into that in his press conference on Monday. Just some things for just some highlights, some players. Christian Gray, he had the most snaps for Notre Dame defensively. They were 2 of 7 throwing at him for 30 yards and the interception. He had a passer rating against, I think it was 5.4. Let me just double check that. Yeah, 5.4, which is awesome. I mean, it's as good as it can be. So that's definitely something that stood out to me. And when you go back, I on my Twitter feed, I put up the interception that he had, the one-hander, which is obviously a great play by him. But I was just really encouraged by the way that the team reacted to that. So 31-0 game at that point. You have Cam Hart's out with a forearm. Ben Morrison doesn't play because of his quad. Makes the interception. And those are the first 2 guys to run over there and get in his face and get excited and get hyped. And the whole team comes over. I mean, not the whole team, but like 20 players, 25 players come over and they're patting him on the head. It continues on and on. I mean, just like that is a culture thing. Like that is players celebrating with their teammates, celebrating with each other. And it's great to see that. Like that's what you want to see in a blowout win, guys that care about each other. So it's really good to kind of see that kind of culture. I was really impressed with that. Let's see. Xavier Watts continues to be an absolute magnet for the football. Listen, you get yourself in the right places, and sometimes they'll throw you the ball, and that's what's been happening to him. He leads the NCAA in interceptions at 6. He's 13th in total passes defended with 10. So I mean, in my opinion, I don't know how he's not a first team All-American at safety. How is that? And who is having a better season? And not just that, but like heavy impact plays in big games. I mean, the USC game, like that's a big game where he goes out there and he has a huge part in Notre Dame winning the game against USC. How is he not a first team All-American? I don't see. How is he not a finalist for the Thorpe Award? I mean, he leads the nation in interceptions. He's playing all the time. So I just don't. I don't see how. I don't see how he doesn't earn that. I think he has, and it's going to be upsetting if he doesn't. Let's see. John Murphy says Clemson on a 2-game losing streak is scary. Getting them to 3 in a row will not be easy. The D line and backers are very good. We need to be sharp, especially Hartman. Will be there this week. John's going to be there in Death Valley. It is going to be a tough game. The thing about Clemson is they're losing, but they're not losing big. It's all these games are close. It's kind of excuse me. It's kind of like Notre Dame in 2016, where they went 4-8, but they had a bunch of really close losses. They were jumping out on teams, and they were kind of blowing it at the end. Excuse me, I got some in my throat. But that was still a tough football team to play. It was very difficult. They're going to be at home, and so that's going to be a test for Notre Dame. NC State, they win 24-17. 7 of those come on a pick 6 by Peyton Wilson. Right. So it's not like their offense was doing much. Now, NC State doesn't have a good offense, so you wouldn't expect that. But it does, like Notre Dame, I think it's going to be close, especially in the first half. Notre Dame's not going to just jump on them unless there's a bunch of turnovers, which could happen. Right. It was interesting looking at the box score. Obviously I didn't follow the game at all. I don't know what exactly was going on, but Will Shipley with light work. I mean, I think he only got like 6 carries. Phil Maffa got the majority of the carries. I believe he got 16 carries. So I don't know if something happened to Shipley during the game. Maybe he got hurt. And if that happened, maybe you could put it up in the chat, and that would be awesome to see. But it's just, or it'd be awesome if someone could put that up there. Oh, came out with an injury. Okay, so that makes sense then, because I was like, I don't understand why that's going on. CFB Hurts, do you know if that's like something we need to monitor? Oh, some shot to the head. Oh, I mean, if it's concussion, he might be out this week. So that'll be interesting to kind of keep track of. I know he'll probably be motivated to play, but in college football, usually if you're out with a concussion, you might have to miss a week. So that'll be something to monitor going forward. But they don't look good on offense. They look bad, just straight up. It has not worked out, I know a lot of people have been like Notre Dame fans. We've been talking about Jared Parker and curled in the fetal position. All right, that sounds very serious then, or fairly serious. It's not one of those. Sometimes you can get like a concussion where you get dinged real quick, like you like bell rung or whatever, and then it's like you're fine, but you come out, but you do have a concussion. So it's like, hey, we're pulling your helmet, and the player wants to keep playing. And the player wants to keep playing, but it's like, no, like those are the rules. You're diagnosed concussion, you have to sit. It sounds like this one was pretty serious. So hopefully, I mean, first of all, hopefully he's okay. You don't want, head injuries are obviously very serious. So that's something to kind of keep track of. But the Clemson offense is not good. We've been unhappy with Jared Parker, but the Clemson offense, by all metrics, has just been very, very bad. It's a bad time for them. The Garrett Riley situation has not worked out. Full stop. Just it hasn't been a good situation. Tyler Hack says he got a concussion in high school and was fine for about 10 minutes until I forgot where I was. I was actually knocked unconscious in a playoff game. This was like I had a punt return early in the game where I hit my head on the ground and I was all woozy, and they were checking me out on the sideline, and this is when we were on offense. Well, we threw an interception, and so I just grabbed my helmet and ran back out there because I needed to go play safety. And then so I stayed in the rest of the game. And then later in the game, caught a pass, got tackled, hit my head on the ground again, and I was out. And this is, 1998. So I went to my pediatrician and got myself cleared. Which, when I say got myself cleared, this man, it was the most shocking thing I think that's ever happened to me, is that this man actually cleared me to play because he was very conservative. He was a very conservative guy. It's like, oh no, you sprained your ankle, like you're not doing PE for like a month, So the fact that he cleared me is kind of amazing. But that's so concussions are no big deal. But that'll be interesting for Clemson. They need to figure out something offensively. And look, I mean, if they can turn over Notre Dame, that's how it happens, right? That's how it's going to have to be. I don't see how against this defense Clemson's going to be able to consistently move the ball against Notre Dame. Like it's just not gonna take a salt tablet. Yeah, for sure. I don't see how they do it. Notre Dame defensively, this is an all-time season for Notre Dame on defense this year. They're fourth. Now they're third in pass efficiency defense. I think they're in the top 10 in yards per play. Let me check this out. It's just they are. I mean, this is an all-timer. We're talking like 2012, 2018 comps for them. Let's look yards per play allowed. Notre Dame is 10th at 4.45. Let me just look what they were in 2012 here. In 2012, Notre Dame was 17th at 4.78. Now, obviously, that's after the national title game as well. After the national title game, they were probably a little bit better than that. But yeah, so they're 10th at 4.45 yards per play. In 2018, Notre Dame was 14th at 4.72. So from a yards per play point of view, Notre Dame is better. I can't imagine that's going to get much worse over the next 3 games. Although I will say we gotta monitor Stanford a little bit from an offensive point of view. That team's a little frisky. Their coach has he's got them playing frisky on the offensive side of the ball. Why does your mic break up briefly 3-4 times abroad? I don't know. Did something happen? Was my mic bad? I have to check that. Too bad our offense stinks. I'll be interested to see BG. I'll be interested to see if Notre Dame can build off of this from a passing game point of view. I thought their plan was as good as it's been in the last few games. Now, obviously, I mean, Pitt's a pretty good defense too. It's not like that's a bad defense. They're not. They're not great. I mean, the reason they're not good is their offense is awful, atrocious. So that's been part of why Pitt has been a bad team. Their defense is not bad. This is actually a very good test for Notre Dame, and what Jared Parker was trying to do out there. I was very impressed with that. So I'm interested to see if that can continue going forward, because I thought their plan was good. They planned a lot of shots. They had Jordan Faison on some. They had an opportunity with Rico Flores on the interception, where I think Sam needs to just say like, "Hey, I have zone underneath on this play action pass. They're one-on-one on the outside. You just got to take that chance, because you don't want to be throwing the ball over the middle. Like that's not going to work out, right? Like just generally, you don't want to throw the ball in that spot. So I think part of the reason why you see some execution problems when they're adding some new elements to the offense is they haven't been running these things all year, right? They've been running more conservative type plays, some more like quick hitting plays, like shorter routes, and they haven't been trying to push the ball as much. And now they did that in the game. It wasn't, the execution wasn't there, but the plan was good. I think if you build on that, I think that could lead to some really good things in the passing game and for the offense as a whole, going forward. Robert Halicki, thanks for being here, Robert. Late, but he made it in. Going to start from the beginning. Hope to see the wide receivers showed you some progression and development from your viewings. Yeah, I mean, I just kind of, it's less so the wide receivers and more of like the pass concepts that I was just talking about, where I think that they were being put in positions to have better performances than they've had earlier in the season, where it's like they were putting safeties and they were putting defenders in bad situations and making them choose. And then Sam Hartman, I mean, even the long pass to Tyree, that's another one where you're in man, you have the single high. I thought actually the better read for Hartman was Flores on the over route, on the kind of the sail route there. I think that was probably the better read. I'd have to go back and look. The first time I saw it, I was like, oh, I wonder if he should have thrown it to Flores. But he took the chance at Tyree. Tyree made the play, right? It goes through the safety's hands. That probably should have been a broken up play. But it's like, that's what happens when you take chances down there. And you're trying to push the ball. Karen says we need some crazy upsets in the coming weeks to help us out. What crazy upsets in what sense? What are we hoping for there, Karen? Let me know what do we need help with, and I'll take that into the next. We'll grow off of your comment there. Keith Hearing says the last 2 wins have been complete team wins, offense, defense, special teams. That's what needs to continue. That's a good point by Keith. That's a fair comment. Complementary football is what people like to say, where you have the defense turning the ball over, and then you have the offense paying that off, right? We saw that against USC, right? Obviously, the offense did not put a bunch of yards out there, but they also didn't run a bunch of plays, and they converted all their opportunities, and that's how you get a 48-point game. Same thing here, where the defense scored a touchdown. They had a special teams touchdown, but they also, when the offense was given opportunities, they went and capitalized on those opportunities. So special teams as well. Listen, Marty Biaggi. Well, I mean, this is as good. If honestly, we are approaching the situation where Notre Dame did not have a drop off in special teams play. You have a special teams touchdown in this game on the punt return, obviously it's a great return by Tyree, but the blocking was also very good. So that's a good job by those guys. You have a muffed punt touchdown, which you can't really attribute to special teams, in terms of scheme or whatever, but someone being exactly where they're supposed to be, right place, right time. You had a kickoff return touchdown. They've had a fake punt that was huge in beating Duke. So I mean, beyond the Spencer Strader troubles kicking the ball, which hasn't been an issue because of the nature of the games that they've been playing the last few weeks or last couple of weeks. Look, you have to say, Marty Biaggi, terrific hire by Marcus Freeman. Good job by you, Marcus. I mean, that's good stuff. CFB Hurt says, my problem with the offense is that it didn't feel like we were able to consistently punish Pitt for being too aggressive. Need to be able to force defenses to back off. So I think they consistently tried to do that is the thing that I'm kind of getting at. They weren't able to do it consistently, like as you point out. And that's why the offense in the first half was kind of stagnant, right? It just didn't, but they were always moving the ball. That was the thing. And that was a point I made on the post-game show last night, was at least the interceptions and the turnover on downs came when Notre Dame was trying to push it. They were they were moving the ball. It wasn't, they weren't going 3 and out. they were trying to kind of make plays there. It just didn't work out. So that's something to take out of this game. So it's I agree with you, right? They weren't able to consistently do it, but they consistently tried, and that's a step in the right direction, in my opinion. Jacob Paulus says, hypothetical, would Parker be willing to take a demotion back to tight end coach? I think he's a good coach, just not a good OC. I don't know. I don't know how Marcus Freeman would address that. What I would say for Parker, kind of devil's advocate on him, is I think we've seen the benefit, because at this time last year, I think people felt very similar about Al Golden. Okay. In terms of he can't be they don't want him. It's too bland. There's not enough variety. All they do is run the cross dog blitz, right? It's so predictable. They're not challenging teams, right? It's too bland. And this year, it's the complete opposite. Like, it's just been awesome in terms of his schemes, in terms of how he's confused quarterbacks, in terms of the variety of ways that he is attacking quarterbacks and attacking offenses. It's just been a complete 180 there. And now they have one of the best defenses in the country, like top 5 defense in the nation. And so, I would point out, like, it is difficult. Like, in the first half, you have Rico Flores and Jaden Grayhouse taking, 90% of the receiver snaps. That's tough. Like, they're true freshmen. And they're not like dynamic burner guys, right? Like, they just aren't that. So, and not just that, but like, Greathouse is playing outside because of the injury to Thomas. Flores is playing outside because they moved him ahead of Tobias, but Tobias wasn't playing well, and that's why they made that move. So it's not like he went out there and was lighting the world on fire. It was because of poor play from someone else in the eyes of the staff. So I think he's had it's a tough job, right? Like, he hasn't really been set up to kind of show what he can do. It's a tough ask for him. So, what Notre Dame has to do, I don't know. What I would say, just that's the devil's advocate point on Jared Parker, is it just maybe with better ingredients and a year to work with this offense, maybe it would look better. I think that's how you have to look at it. If you're him, what Notre Dame needs to do, I don't know. Let's see. So when does Notre Dame, Ebenezer Gatsby asks, so when does Notre Dame start putting out back channel feelers to Jalen Daniels, Dante Moore? He would be a transfer, so NIL pay for play is on the table. Not to Dante Moore. That is not going to happen, period. Jalen Daniels, where is he at? Is he the Kansas player? Remind me of him. I think Notre Dame, whatever back channel, they've already been doing that, in my opinion. That's already happening. Rajon asks, do you think wide receivers ran good routes on the 4th down play? Flores doing an auto and doing an out made no sense to me. You knew Pitt was sending blitzers. I think they ran the routes that they were supposed to run. So those two guys, like, they weren't going to be, so the outside guys, they both ran kind of like return. So they slant in and come out. Like, they weren't getting the ball, period. They were never getting it. That ball was either going to Tyree or it was going to go to Evans on the man beater play. I put up on the thing, like, you have to have a side adjust and be able to get Tyree on a slant real quick, and he's going to win inside. It might be a walk-in touchdown, honestly. Like, those are the house calls that you get. I haven't seen Notre Dame with hot routes in their offense on blitzes very often, or side adjusts or anything like that. That situation was just textbook. Throw a side adjust, throw the ball inside behind the blitzer, and let's go. And they didn't do it. And so that's why I put on Twitter, like, I just don't, I don't understand why you wouldn't do it in that situation. Ryan McDonald says, we have 0 deep threats on the outside. Hard to call offense when you can't stretch the defense. So that's kind of the point that I'm making is like, I mean, Notre Dame has deep threats, right? Like the deep post to Bias, like those 2 DBs are just absolutely cooked, like cooked. I mean, Faison, I mean, that is legit. Like if you're a defense and you see that on tape, that's like, hey, like that's a thing that can happen. Like you do have to be careful with that, right? So they do, but they only hit it out of the slot, right? The Tyree stuff, all out of the slot. Like everything has to be in the middle of the field, either a middle of the field post or a middle of the field seam. And that's where it has to be. I mean, they've barely hit slot fades this year, right? So that's even to the outside. Like everything is just wanting to be so that when they go deep, it's in the middle of the field. They're never going outside. That's the problem. The one deep ball they've hit this year that was kind of over the top was against Central Michigan with Tobias, but they didn't really cover him. They hit another one that was kind of a fade against Central Michigan. I think it was with Rico, but we haven't seen that in the last 5 games or 4 games or 5 games. So it's just kind of like, and it hasn't come against anyone that wasn't Central Michigan. That's the problem on the outside there. It's like they just don't have a scheme in their offense. It's like, yeah, we're going to hit something to an outside wide receiver to the field or even to the boundary, right? And that's limiting. It just that's limiting. BG asks, what bowl game do you want them in or opponent? I would love any New Year's Six bowl, I think. And I think that's the that's what everyone's kind of putting in the chat. I want Tyler Hack says I want a New Year's Six bowl. CFB Hertz, New Year's Six against anyone. New Year's Six from Jacob Paulus. I mean, that's it. I think I've seen where LSU's on the table, which would be very interesting because Notre Dame with their defense and with their defense against LSU's offense, which is one of the tops in the country. There's a lot of storylines there with Brian Kelly, obviously, Logan Diggs playing against Logan Diggs. And honestly, with LSU, like that would be a game where, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that would kind of end any speculation of like Sam Hartman not playing in the game. I mean, who's not playing in that? Like just from a, coming out like Joe Alt, you're not going to play in that game against Brian Kelly. I don't know who else would be coming out. I mean, Audric Estime, you're not going to play in that game against Brian Kelly. You're not going to play against Logan Diggs, who's across the line. Like that would be stunning if anyone opted out of that game. So I think that'd be something to monitor. All right, let's see. Karen. So this is her first question. Other teams need to come in. So let's say like LSU beating Bama, Missouri beating Georgia, USC beat Washington. Too much to ask for. Right. So I don't think Notre Dame has any chance of getting into the playoff. Like almost none. Almost none. Because the other part is like USC doesn't look good. Clemson has fallen off a cliff. Like who's their best win? Honestly, like now Duke has lost again. Granted, I think, if Riley Leonard never gets hurt, I think they're a different opponent, but they didn't. Louisville, they lost to Louisville, so they don't have like a good win anymore. USC's barely ranked now. Clemson has no chance of being ranked. Like it's just the schedule didn't break. Like they have no chance of getting in, which is fine. Like honestly, I don't want to stress about it. It is what it is. It's unfortunate that the defense is as good as it is. They really needed to not lose to Ohio State. They really, God, every time you watch Ohio State play, you just think they really need to not have that happen. And they, unfortunately, they blew it. They blew it. Karen asks, do you think Tobias experienced a modicum of redemption yesterday? I don't know if redemption's the word. I would say that being able to see him do what he did, the way that he did on that play, like that is just, man, Like, they just don't have a guy at that size who can do that. Like, they can't do that. Like Flores, Greathouse, Thomas, they can't do that. They can't. And that's why, like, to me, in the first half, 3 snaps for him in the first half, like, that's unacceptable. Unacceptable. Like, he is so important to this program. So important to the program. And look, I don't want it to sound like I'm ripping Rico Flores, because I'm not. He deserves to play. Okay. He absolutely does. He should be out there. That needs to be a timeshare for those guys. They need to split snaps. Rico Flores is not playing well enough to where it's like we have to have him out there. Like, no. They both work their butts off in the run game. They both do it, right? They both are trying hard on their route running. They both deserve to be out there. Both of them. They both need to get reps. They both need to get snaps. And look, if you want Flores out there, then fine. Then you need to put Tobias in the slot. It'll be interesting. We need to check on Mitchell Evans, right? What's going on with him, right? I was a little bit, I'll say, alarmed. Not alarmed, bad word to use. My ears went up when Marcus Freeman, they asked him, and he said, I don't know the nature of the injury. What? Of course you know. You're the coach. They're going to come tell you right away what's the deal. They always do that when you have an injured player. So, of course, he knows what it might be or what they think it might be, right? He didn't want to talk about it. The fact he didn't want to talk about it is cause for concern, in my opinion. So if he's going to be out, he's obviously in the slot a lot. Do you want to move Tobias more into the slot, right? Do you want to move him inside there and try to get him going in there, right? You still have Jaden Thomas, who, in my opinion, is not going to be healthy for the rest of the year. They have bungled this, in my opinion. It's never going to be healthy again for the rest of 2023. They have bungled it. They needed to not play him. You need to know exactly what the nature of the injury is. And if he's going to be hurt, it's a hamstring. Can't just keep sending him out there. And they kept sending him out there. He's not healthy again. Post-bye. They have another bye coming up, which is nice. But I just think they've bungled that. So you're not going to – I don't think they're going to get whatever they could have gotten out of him. I don't think that's coming. And so I think they need to get Tobias going. And you can get him going inside, which is I think they should have done with Jaden Thomas. Once he was healthy, they put him out too soon, in my opinion. CFBR says, what I'm hearing is that next year Parker is going to be as good as Golden this year. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Prediction. You heard it here first. That's what I'm saying. That's the deal. Ryan McDonald, we have 5 slot receivers in Merriweather. Honestly, I think Notre Dame has 6 slot receivers, including Merriweather. Everyone needs to play out of the slot, so they need to find one. Let's see. Jalen Daniels, Riley Leonard. I haven't seen Jalen Daniels play at all. I mean, sounds good. I don't know what kind of offense they run. I would say Riley Leonard runs something closer to what Notre Dame runs, which I think is good. I think the running element for him is great. And so I like the running element that he brings. I haven't seen Jalen Daniels play that much, so I can't really comment on him. Jacob Paulus. Speaking of Tyree, what a catch. With one more year at slot, he could work himself into late round draft talk. If I was him, I'd be coming back. Honestly, I think he could be like a serious staple for Notre Dame next year. Like, I know he might try to take this opportunity and go. Maybe he just wants to leave college, but man, I would be. It would honestly, if you want to play in the NFL, like seriously, because in my opinion, he's not the greatest route runner, and so work on that. And then you're like a real threat, like an actual viable slot player in the NFL. So that's what I would do. I don't know how he feels about that. Does Logan Diggs get PT? He starts for them. He's having a very good season. For them. He missed the first game against LSU. I think he had a hamstring problem, but he starts for them. He's playing really well. He's a good football player, right? It's fortunate that Notre Dame is stacked at running back with Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love and Audric Estime. So Justin Knox asks, what are we favored against Clemson? 3.5. Vegas knows this one is going to be closer than it should be. Yeah, I mean, on the road as well. So I think it would be closer to 7 if Notre Dame was at home. But yeah, I mean, it's not closer than it should be. It's just that they're a team with a good defense that can keep games close, right? And look, if Notre Dame isn't turning a team over, Notre Dame, they've kind of shown against good defenses, it's hard for them to move the ball consistently if they're not getting short fields. And so, Vegas, look, you have to admit, like they've been doing a good job with the lines this year. So that's something to keep track of. Patrick Hennessy says, is Cam Williams, assuming he signs, going to play ahead of Tobias next year? I don't know about ahead of Tobias. Like, to me, Cam Williams, excuse me, gosh, that's another one. It's hard because, like, I think, okay, we need to put him in the slot because that's where Notre Dame gets all their stuff from. He could play the field. He could play the boundary. He could play anywhere. He's awesome. Cam Williams needs to play, whether it's like ahead of anyone. He needs to be out there. He is awesome. Cam Williams is a very, very good player. Like, if I wasn't working for ISD right now, like if I was still like just blogging for UHND, like I'd be going all in on Cam Williams. Like it would be it would be like Kyle Hamilton levels of hype. He's very, very good. Jacob Paulus on Jalen Daniels. I'll take your word for it. Again, I haven't watched him. I haven't watched him at all. We'll see. I mean, look, everyone's talking about Thick Boy 7 over at Utah. Cam Rising coming in. Thick Boy. I don't think he's a good fit, but whatever. I think if they want to do that, then go for it, man. The Thick Boy part, it would be. I would love that. I would love that. CFB Hertz says, from what I can find, it looks like Clemson's still favored. No, I thought I saw Notre Dame minus 3.5. I think that's what I saw. I think I saw that last night. Michael Park says next year, wide receiver deck next year will be back on track. Yeah, they need to get a transfer though. They do. They absolutely do. It's the portal era. You got to bring in someone who is proven, and you need some actual depth. You need some actual depth out there to get things cracking for the offense at wide receiver. Jason Warnock says, hypothetical, Hartman goes down for the season and Jelly has to come in. How do you think he does? Honestly, I think he would do fine. I think he would do great. In terms of just running things. Here's the thing. I honestly, Notre Dame, the way that they play and the way that their team's set up, they don't need someone like Sam Hartman. Like, he's a good player, right? Like, Sam Hartman is a very, very good quarterback, right? In my opinion, in terms of maximizing his talent, he needed to be on a different team. I think Sam Hartman on the 2018 team would have been unbelievable. But just that, I think he's in a very tough position where I think he needed guys like Claypool and Boykin to throw to, just to kind of throw it up to those guys, take one-on-one chances, and they could win in that area. That's what I think he needed. I think Angeli would come in and do fine. I think he could come in and do exactly what Hartman is asked to do. Maybe not at the exact level as him, but I mean, when has he ever not looked good? Has Steve Angeli ever not looked good in a football game anytime we've seen him? I don't think he has. He's looked good every single time, and that includes the spring game. So that's what you want. You want your guy to look good out there. You want every time you see him, you want to say, hey, like 6 or 7 yesterday. I think it was 90-something yards. And so let me just check it right now. If I'm going to just give the stats, might as well. 6 or 7, 92 yards, 1 touchdown. That'll work. That will work. So it matters how it looks. And to us, I think it looks good. And everything matters how it looks. You want it to look good. whether it's your backup quarterback, or whether it's your website, or whether it's your highlight reel, or your engagement video. And if you want that, and you want it to look good, then you need to put a VSR Media, founded by Notre Dame football pregame host and Emmy Award-winning anchor Vahid Sadrazadeh. VSR Media provides professional and cinematic video and photo. Whether you're looking for a collegiate or pro-level highlight reel, have a personal story to tell, or are aiming to diversify and grow your business, VSR Media specializes in short and long-form video storytelling, social media management, and website design. VSR Media also captures professional headshots, senior, and sports photos. Contact them at vsrmediacompany.com. Mention Irish Sports Daily to receive 20% off your first project. Visit them online or give them a call at 574-800-9106. Got the segue in there. Got to work it in. It's harder. It's harder when it's a solo show. We're talking about receivers. Logan Saldate. I like him. I think he's someone who has position versatility as well. I could see slot. I could see field. He looks good. I like that he's not the biggest guy, but he's not like small either. Like I like him. He's a good football player, and I like how he's used in a multiple of ways in high school, so that he's used to playing the field and playing the slot and playing the boundary. Like they're giving him jet sweeps and they're giving him bubble screens, and they throw deep to him and they throw in routes to him. Like I like that. He's a good football player. As a third wide receiver in the group, and not in terms of like ranking them, like Cam Williams is one. Micah Gilbert's a big, thicker guy, right? So he's got some nice speed. I mean, Cam Williams to me, Micah Gilbert to me is like very similar to Jaden Thomas. Probably a little bit more wiggle, maybe just a little bit more wiggle than Jaden Thomas. Saldate is like, he's honestly, I don't want to invoke it. He's closer to someone like Stefferson, which is obviously exciting, right? That's exciting comp, but he's not. Stefferson was really good, right? Incredible route runner. So that's something that he had going for him. And so, I think it's a good group. It's a good group of wide receivers. It's really good there. Justin Knox is asking, O-line play, what's my take? Honestly, I think it's stabilized a little bit. I mean, they ran the ball pretty well. I think it was 157 yards yesterday. Let me just look here. 33 for 155. Take away the sack for Hartman, it's 32 for 161, average about 5 yards a carry. Audric Estime, 6 yards per pop. Jadarian Price, 5.8 yards per pop. So look, your main two running backs are sitting there at 6 yards a carry. I think that's a pretty good job. Again, Pitt's got a pretty good defense. Let's see the pass blocking grades. Let's check it out. Who had the best blocking grade? Oh, look, Joe Alt. Number one, 87.4 pass blocking. Let's see. They didn't give up a ton of pressures. Let's see. Bracco gave up 2 pressures on the game. 1 quarterback hit. Billy Strouth, he gave up 1 pressure. He only played 18 plays though. So 2 pressures from Bracco. No sacks allowed. They didn't give the sack to anybody. So they gave the sack to the quarterback, I guess. That's interesting. I mean, someone had to give up the sack. Maybe it was a back. No, because they would put it on here. So I don't know. I think they kind of stabilized yesterday, right? I think it was. I don't know. It was a stabilization game for me. It's not that they took steps forward, but they didn't take steps back. They're solidifying that group right now. Marcus Freeman says they're just going to keep it at Coogan and Spindler at the guards. I think, I'd have to see. Blake Fisher had another penalty there, so I'd have to look into that in just terms of like it was a late hit, personal foul, something of that nature, or unsportsmanlike conduct. I'd have to look at that. They got to clean that up. Marcus Freeman seemed very salty yesterday, given winning by 51, and maybe it was just like, hey, I'm not gonna let these guys, I'm not gonna let these guys get complacent. Like he obviously is pushing something. Like keep the level up. So that's that's what he's doing. He was very upset yesterday with a lot of things. Let's see. CFB Hertz says Freeman wants to win the bowl game as well. He should. Throwing it away to build for the future would be the wrong approach. This is in question to Ryan McDonald. Excuse me. Ryan McDonald asked, do you think Angeli gets meaningful minutes in a bowl game, regardless of bowl game level game situation, to prepare for next year? So I would agree with CFB Hertz. I mean, they wouldn't plan for that. In my opinion, if they're playing in a bowl game that's meaningful, they're going to play it to win it. They absolutely are. Like, you can't do that to the team. The team is owed. You have to owe the team to give them the best chance, and that's Sam Hartman, just straight up, right? There's no debate about that. You can't plan for with Angeli. There's practice. Like, you might give him more practice time, right? But like if they're in a New Year's Six bowl, I don't see how you're just not doing everything to win that game. Everything to win the game. Because here's the other thing. If you're Marcus Freeman, you're asking players, and he's always been like, I want players to play, right? He doesn't like if you opt out of the bowl game, like you can't be around the team anymore. You can't have that stance and have I want players to play, and then we're gonna put Angeli in to prepare him for next year. Like, no, you can't have that. You can't have it both ways. You're going for it or you're not. Right? If you want players to play in the game, then you need to play the game exactly how you would to try to win the game. And so that's what I think would happen. Keith Herring says Freeman is very vocal about setting the seniors off the right way. Yeah, absolutely. He's always been that way. He has always been that way. Justin Knox, some of these guys are going to opt out unless it's LSU. Who would I think that would be? I don't think Alt would. Linemen are tough. They don't do that stuff. If for some reason Notre Dame was 8-4, I could see Hartman not playing. And then you'd get a ton of Steve Angeli. I could see Estime, maybe. I could see that. But it's like I don't know who else. I mean, who else would not play? I could see Cam Hart not playing, honestly, because of the shoulder. Because he's been dealing with the shoulder forever. If it's not LSU, if it's not New Year's Six, I bet you Cam Hart doesn't play. Obviously they have players who can come in, and I think for him, it would just be like, hey, like I need my shoulder to be right. That'd be pretty important. So I think Estime is possible. Cam Hart possible. Hartman possible. I don't think Alt would miss. I just don't think he would. Yeah, I mean, CN Angelo says won't need Estime in any New Year's Six scenario. Besides, I want to see some more JD Price out there. He's about to go nuts. I mean, they would definitely like be okay at running back. You just get Price the ball, Love the ball, Jabron Payne. Like, they would be fine at running back. But Estime's a good football player now. I mean, I think, and I don't think you're saying that he's not. It's just, it's nice to see him out there. I mean, he's a good running back. I mean, he's definitely their best running back at the moment. Let's check out what his season stats are. 146, 901 yards. Yeah, he's gonna get 1,000 this year, which is cool for him. If not in the next game, in the games after that. Hopefully, knock on wood. 12 touchdowns for him, so that's cool for Audric Estime. Where is he at nationally? Let's check that out. All right, Audric Estime, yards a game, not up there. Let's see. He's 17th in yards per game. Total touchdowns, he is 4th in total touchdowns at 12. He does have an extra game ahead of some of these guys. So yeah, great season for Audric Estime. Good for him. Good for him. Who says we would beat Georgia? Let's see. UGA and Bama won't score versus Notre Dame's defense either. The Irish can play with anyone in the nation. It's hard because Alabama, I think, would have a hard time moving the ball against Notre Dame. Georgia, I haven't really watched. The thing about Georgia is like what they can do to Notre Dame's offense is kind of what Notre Dame's defense does to teams. It's like they can turn over Notre Dame. They can make it very difficult. Like it's very hard, and especially Alabama as well. Like it would be very hard to play a defense like that with Notre Dame's passing game as it is. I know I liked it against Pitt, but this is different. Like those teams are different, and they can just man you up and just say, "Hey, we're gonna beat you up. We're gonna beat the crap out of you." And Notre Dame just doesn't. They don't seem equipped to handle that right now. So that's going on. Love going down the sideline. Looked incredibly fast. He did. He looked great. I thought he was going to go to the house. Let's see. Patrick Henderson says Fisher seemed to be very inconsistent this year. Has the transition from Harry Hiestand to Rudolph been a challenge for him? I mean, not just Harry Hiestand to Rudolph, Quinn to Hiestand to Rudolph. That can't be good for offensive linemen. Just anyone, just generally speaking. You don't want 3 different offensive line coaches in 3 years. You obviously, like any position, you want continuity, but especially on the offensive line, right? So that doesn't help at all. Justin Knox says Fisher must return, take over left tackle. He needs another year. Yeah, the only way he's not on Notre Dame's team is if he transferred somewhere, which I guess is possible. I don't know. I doubt it, but I guess it's possible. But why would you go? He's going to get a return to school grade, and he can play better, right? And I think he can play better. I think he get bigger. Yeah, Jacob Paulus. I've heard Fisher doesn't want to move to left tackle. I think Tim O'Malley brought this up either last week or maybe it was Tim Priester, one of the Tims at Irish Illustrated. I think they brought it up where he was asked about it. I think in the offseason, he was like, I have no desire to move to left tackle. So I think he wants to stay on the right side. Wherever he wants to go, I think he can improve his interview with Tim O'Malley. Yeah, so it was I don't think he's looking, but I think he can stay and improve his draft stock 100%. That can definitely happen. So I think it would be foolish for him to move on. It's just he's not ready, in my opinion. And that's okay. Be a 3-year starter or 3 or 4 year starter. Do that. Okay. Thank you, everyone. I'm gonna make it one flag O'Malley. Yeah. I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Jamie and I'll be back on Tuesday talking about this game. We'll do another. This one will be a normal week without the bye. So we'll do a mailbag show for Irish Sports Daily customers. Put in your questions for us. We'll be putting a link up for that. Check that out there. Check out our new podcast, Dines with Dara, on the Joyce Lot podcast. I'm talking about the women's basketball team. The women's basketball team tomorrow, I believe. Is today the 29th? Yes, it is. Tomorrow, they are having an exhibition. So Darren Mabry and I will be breaking that down. Or she'll be breaking it down. She'll be at the game. I'm going to be just looking at the box score because the game isn't on TV. So we're going to be talking about that. So check us out there. It's a really good show. We've got a lot of good compliments. People are very excited about that. So check us out there. Check us out on Tuesday. And check out a bunch of Irish Sports Daily content on irishsportsdaily.com. Thank you, everyone. Notre Dame beats Pitt 58-7. Have a great rest of your weekend. We will talk to you on Tuesday. Keep hitting and hustling.